over the past 75 years, humanity has produced roughly 10 billion tonnes of plastics. We have made enough to drown Sydney in 1.5 metres of the stuff. Each year, Australia produces nearly 3 million tonnes of plastic waste, and it's only increasing. We categorise our bins, separate recyclables, and send our plastic for processing. Of the plastic we buy and use, we recycle less than 20%. That means more than 80% of it goes to landfill. When we don't bury it, we feed it to the oceans and ship it overseas. In this video, we will explore the potential of a circular economy regarding plastic pollution, consumption, and disposal. This perspective will identify the stages of the plastic life cycle, the environmental consequences of its mismanagement, and the steps that we can take to improve our relationship with plastic and the planet. The use of ever-increasing amounts of raw materials is a detriment to the global environment. For those of you born in the 2000s, during your lifetime, the extraction of raw materials has nearly doubled from roughly 50 to 100 billion tonnes, with a prediction of reaching nearly 200 billion tonnes in the year 2050. This prediction is based on the concept of a linear economy, in which raw materials are extracted, manufactured, consumed, and discarded. The organisation of the current economy is dangerous in the long term. An alternative is the adoption of a circular economy, in which as much of the waste product from a linear economy is repurposed as the raw materials for new commodities. The goal of a circular economy is to reduce the input of raw materials while also reducing the residual waste. This offers a more sustainable alternative to our current system. The choice between linear and circular is not binary. Moving towards a greater degree of circularity is crucial in achieving sustainability goals. The circularity metric is a measure of how much of the raw material input comes from recycled goods. At only 7.2%, it shows that we have a long way to go before reaching full circularity.
Plastic is a material at the forefront of our unsustainable linear economy. Natural gases, coal and crude oil are mined and fracked from the earth to be refined, processed and turned into plastics.
The production phase is very environmentally degrading due to its intense reliance upon fossil fuels for both the raw material and energy requirements. As a result, tons of greenhouse gases are released into the atmosphere. Bioplastics, such as polylactide, could be a good alternative to conventional plastics because it uses biomass instead of petrochemicals as the raw material input. To increase the circularity metric, perhaps this biomass could be sourced from unwanted plants like weeds. A 2017 study in Thailand looked at the life cycle of plastic bottles using cradle-to-grave analysis. They assessed the embodied costs from raw material extraction to disposal. Comparing the environmental effects of recycling versus incineration, they found recycling was much better for the environment. By reducing the need for raw material extraction and refinement, bottles could be reintroduced to the cycle and reused. Recycling can be mutually beneficial for the economy, energy use, and the environment. By implementing strategies like this, we can reduce the number of single-use plastics and reduce the environmental toll.
However, numerous improvements can be made across the economy to reduce our inputs and residual wastes. We are seeing progress towards reducing plastic from the consumer experience too.
In Australia, supermarkets and stores are removing single-use plastic bags from checkouts to encourage more sustainable shopping. This initiative, supported by governments that are imposing bans on an extended range of plastic products, from foodware and utensils to hygiene products. However, there are caveats to these laws, and most plastic waste is not accounted for by the ban. In New South Wales, the ban regulations specify that prepackaged items that are integrated into packaging of a food or beverage product through a machine-automated process are not included. Until governments or international environmental groups with political intervention address this issue, there are responsibilities that consumers like you and I can fulfill to encourage systemic action while reducing the environmental impact of plastics. 1. Bring reusable bags on your shopping ventures. These can be cotton, canvas, or any other natural fibre. 2. Avoid using single-use plastic bags provided in produce sections, or bring alternative bags to transport items home. 3. Bring your own reusable coffee mug or thermal cup to cafes. 4. Tend your purchases towards minimally packaged foods and products. 5. Support environmental groups united against excessive plastic use and waste. 6. Participate in local cleanup programs to preserve and learn about natural ecosystems. Across populations and across countries, small actions result in grave environmental consequences. But positive behaviours at the individual level can be just as effective at inspiring change for good. Everything from the components in our phones to the bags we shop with, even breast implants, all made from plastic. Plastic has become increasingly inherent to our functioning, but our dependency on this material is proving disastrous for the environment. Different types of plastic have differing qualities that affect their life cycles. Most plastic is highly durable, meaning it takes between 20 and 500 years to decompose. This durability means that plastic that has been irresponsibly disposed of can be an issue for generations.
Responsible disposal practices include recycling. The recycling industry is the major driving force behind the circular economy model. By recycling our plastic, we reduce the chances that it will contaminate our environment.
Constant expansion of plastic production has left recycling playing catch-up. In the 2018-19 financial year, approximately 3 million tonnes of plastic waste were disposed of in Australia. Of this, roughly 200,000 tonnes could be recycled domestically. This means we need to increase our recycling infrastructure 17 times to recycle everything we chuck out. In the past, it was common practice for rich, highly developed countries such as Australia to ship much of our waste to poorer countries in Africa and Asia. One big recipient of this waste was China. However, in 2017, they ceased importing other countries' waste. Around that time, in 2016, our exports of plastic sat at 182,000 tonnes. Since then, partially because of China's ban, our exports have dropped by 40% annually. The plastic that is no longer exported will ideally be processed through our domestic recycling infrastructure and be reused as the raw materials for new products. In late 2022, it was discovered that the recycling company RedCycle was stockpiling soft plastics in warehouses. Under a recycling program, they would collect plastics from Woolworths, Coles and Aldi and transfer them to recycling facilities for processing. However, when it came to soft plastics, the program could not keep up with the volume, so they packed it into warehouses. Often, when discussing plastic waste, straws and bags draw focus. This makes sense, as the single-use nature of these items makes them destined for landfill from day one. Recycling reduces the need to mine for additional fossil fuels to create new plastics. It also reduces the amount of plastic waste that can make its way into the world's ecosystems. Instead, old plastics are redirected back into the production phase. We can start by, before producing something, considering how it will be recycled and disposed of. By designing products where materials used to make them can be reclaimed and recycled as efficiently as possible, we can cut down on plastic waste. Additionally, we should improve our recycling infrastructure. There are various forms of plastic that have different levels of recyclability.
We have proven technologies to recycle plastic waste. By streamlining and expanding this industry, we will greatly increase the circularity metric.
Our world did not always have plastics. We enjoy the convenience it brings, but in the blink of an eye, it was everywhere in everything. Industries and companies pushed their plastic products by sanitizing the environmental impacts with greenwashed advertising campaigns to appear more eco-friendly. We buy plastic bottles with plastic labels showing pristine snow-capped peaks and tropical beaches. We used to drink from a tap or carry a reusable bottle, which would not generate any waste. Instead of transporting items wrapped in bubble wrap and cling film, we can use sustainable alternatives such as wood, cardboard, and paper. All our clothes were once made from natural fibres. Now the use of acrylic and polyester textiles has become more prevalent, further adding to landfills. With so many great alternatives to single-use plastics, we need to consider, is this plastic sustainable or even necessary? To enforce industry regulation and to support environmental organisations, government legislation and funding are necessary to work towards a more environmentally conscious society. The Paris Agreement, joined by the Australian government in 2016, was created to increase the accountability of Australia and the world in addressing climate change. So far, Australia has reduced its emissions by more than 21% since 2005, with its policy to reach a net zero target by 2050. While this encompasses reducing waste and emissions, it is still urgent that governments take stronger action to further sustainability and environmental efforts.
Other ways that individuals have been pressuring government bodies to act on waste and climate change is through protesting.
Youth voices on climate change and waste are essential to create discussion and currency. In August 2018, climate activist Greta Thunberg caught international press attention when she started a protest campaign. From March 15th to September 20th, 2019, an estimated 6 million young people across the world protested in a school strike for climate, demonstrating a voice for change. Governments on every level need to hear this voice and put more effort into implementing solutions across the plastic life cycle.
We all need to find where we can help along the plastic cycle. We need to be more responsible in our extraction of raw materials,
reduce our production and reliance on plastics, design our products and packaging to serve us in the long term and cycle through as a resource, not a waste. Be more considered in our selection of products, consume less and responsibly dispose of plastics we use by sorting and safely storing our plastic until we can recycle these materials.
Our relationship with plastic needs to change. The combined effects of many small actions will leave a great legacy for generations to come.